Buy Bitcoin when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own. In this video, I want to explain to you what exactly I mean by this. Let's get started. Over the last couple of weeks, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, or the crypto market sentiment analysis, not sure which one it is, maybe specifically for Bitcoin or maybe for both, but it's dropped to extreme fear because people are worried that Bitcoin is going to zero. People think that Bitcoin is going to $10,000, $5,000, $3,000. There's tons of posts online where people are saying that Bitcoin is going much, much lower. So you should dump, you should sell everything you have. The bull market is over. There's no point in holding anymore. Get out while you can. In the last 5 days, we've seen that the price has dumped from 93,000 all the way to 84,000 or so. At the low, it was at about 80,000 in the last week. Most people are trading Bitcoin based on emotions. They don't actually understand what they own. They just see it as another trade. So what they're doing is they're buying and selling in order to accumulate more fiat currencies. They don't see Bitcoin as the exit. They see Bitcoin as a way to continue living in the current financial system that we're in. The way that I see it, the current financial system is a way to enslave us, to get us to keep working until we're 60, 70, 80 years old by having us buy these assets that barely give us a return, that are then taxed to death by our governments and taken away from us when we actually need to use them in order to retire. The Bitcoin network isn't impacted at all by the price, and we know for a fact that every 8 to 12 minutes, there's going to continue to be new blocks created and more transactions confirmed. The way that Bitcoin works is the market sets the price for the commodity that we call Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin network continues to work no matter what. More transactions are confirmed every 10 minutes. More people are able to move their Bitcoin from one address to another. No matter what happens, there are always going to be people who are willing to contribute their time, energy, and effort to the Bitcoin network in order to keep it secure and to keep it working the way it's supposed to. The last year or so has been extremely bullish for Bitcoin. And of course, the price is going to come back down a little bit. And I think that's perfectly fine. It's just an opportunity for you to buy more. The way that I see it, you should be greedy when other people are fearful, when other people are worried that Bitcoin is going to zero and they're selling their stack. You should be adding Bitcoin to your own stack, because no matter what, there's only going to be 21 million. No matter what happens, the people who sell their Bitcoin are eventually going to run out. Bitcoin is going to run out at every single price, and the people who don't see this are going to regret it. A lot of the people who own Bitcoin right now don't actually understand it. I would say that less than 10% of the people who own Bitcoin actually understand what they have. Like I said, to the majority, 95% of people who own Bitcoin, this is just another trade. This is just another way for them to get more fiat currencies. To the other 5 to 10% of people, this is an exit, and they're accumulating Bitcoin that they're never, ever going to sell again. Remember, even the US government came out with news of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and they said that they're going to be adding the confiscated Bitcoin that they have to this reserve, and they're never going to be selling it again. They're going to be using it as a store of value. I've mentioned this in past videos, and I don't know if you want to use this to trade the market. I personally wouldn't. I don't really care to. I just buy Bitcoin no matter what. But it seems like one of the best times to buy Bitcoin is when others are fearful. And the worst times to buy is when others are greedy. So we can see here, November 22nd, the crypto fear and greed index was at 94. And we can see around November 22nd, Bitcoin was near its all-time high at about $100,000. And today, Bitcoin's price has dropped to $83,400, and it seems like a bad time to buy. Since when are we unhappy about getting discounts when buying anything? Let's say, for example, if you wanted to buy a house and the price of the house drops from $100,000 all the way to $10,000, are you not going to want to buy because the price has dropped 90%? To me, it makes even more sense to buy when the price has dropped 90%, because I'm going to buy a house regardless. And if the price has fallen, it just means that I can use less of my savings to buy that house. So if you had a specific goal of how much Bitcoin you wanted to buy at the very top, you should be happy to buy now because the price has dropped 30%. It means that financial freedom has become 30% cheaper. If you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin at the very top at $109,000, this is the peak that happened earlier this year, you would have gotten 91,743 Satoshis. If you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin today with the price at $84,000, you would get 119,048 Satoshis. The difference is massive. And over time, I think the difference between these two is going to be the maximum amount of Bitcoin that people are ever going to be able to buy. So let's say, for example, you can get 120,000 Satoshis today. You could get 92,000 Satoshis in the past. The difference is almost 30,000 Satoshis. I personally think that people won't even be able to get their hands on 30,000 Satoshis 20, 30, 40 years from now. So instead of worrying so much about the price dropping and Bitcoin going to zero, think more about how much Bitcoin you have. Don't think about the fiat currency price. It's a way to get you to sell because whales know that if they dump a small amount of Bitcoin, people are going to panic, people are going to start selling, and the price is going to fall even lower. So think more about the amount of Satoshis that you've stacked. Do you have 10 million Satoshis? Do you have 5 million Satoshis? Do you have a million Satoshis? If you don't, you should be stacking more. You should be trying to use these dips to reach your goal rather than panicking and selling what you have and speculating on where Bitcoin is going in the near term, where Bitcoin is going in the next 10, 20, 30 days. It doesn't matter. Over the next 30, 40, 50 years, if you hold on to your Bitcoin, that 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million Satoshis is going to be generational wealth. So if you have extra fiat currencies, if you have extra dollars, if you have extra euros, won, buy Bitcoin when others are fearful. And if you need more fiat currency, let's say you need to pay for a bill, let's say you need to pay for your mortgage, sell Bitcoin at that point. Don't sell out of fear, sell out of necessity. If you ever really have to, hold on to your Bitcoin as a savings account. This is the best asset that we're ever going to see in our lifetimes. This is the best performing asset that we'll ever have. If you want to book a one-on-one meeting with me, I've put a link in the description below. You can ask me any specific questions that you may have. You can also book a meeting with the Bitcoin Way. They'll help you with your storage. They'll help you to purchase Bitcoin. They'll help you with all of that. There's another link in the description below to book a free meeting with them as well. Don't let fear drive you out of the market. Use others' fear to your advantage. Study Bitcoin, embrace the volatility, and add more Bitcoin to your stack during these dips. If you sell your Bitcoin because of emotions, you're never going to get that Bitcoin back, and you're going to regret it in 10, 20, 30 years. Make it your goal to have more Bitcoin each week, each month, each year. However you spread out your buys is up to you, but just make sure you have more Bitcoin over time, and I don't think that you're going to regret it. The wealthy don't sell because of fear. They buy when others are fearful. So when you're fearful and selling, they're going to be the ones buying, and they're never going to sell that Bitcoin again. If the US government gets its hands on your Bitcoin, it's never going to sell. It's going to use that Bitcoin to create bonds, to create more currency, to add more currency to the system, and you're never going to see that Bitcoin again.